G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here. As you've probably heard, the eastern seaboard has been getting hammered with rain all last week. Well, what we had drizzled 2.3 millimetres, 0.5 of a millimetre, nothing Friday or Saturday. Yesterday 1.5 in the morning, followed by 4.5 during the day, 4 millimetre between about 6 o'clock and sundown, 14 millimetres by about 9 o'clock, and it's rained all night. The buoy walls have got 58 centimetres in each of them, times 80 litres, 4,640 litres in each buoy wall. And we've had at least 26 millimetres since 9 o'clock last night. So now we see how much is there, which turns out to be at least another 26 mils. So that's 52 plus another 10.25. So 62.25 millimetres here overnight since about 9 o'clock, which was when I put the plug in the Cascade Drums overflow pipe, and I stopped the siphon at about 6 o'clock yesterday. $58.4. So now we take some water out of that buoy wall. "14 minutes and 15 seconds to 10. And 80 litres has already gone through, because it's 80 litres of water per centimetre on the stick. I could siphon it down the hill into the dam, but, well, such is life. The big idea is to get that one sufficiently empty that I can start siphoning from the number one buoy wall, and once I've got some room in number one buoy wall, then I can start storing what comes down from the skies. It does not take long. "43 centimetres. So we've almost taken a tonne out of it in 15 minutes. When another tonne's gone, I'll stop the pump and start transferring from the number one to the number two buoy wall, because there's another 80 to 150 millimetres forecast in the next 24 hours. And I figure I might as well put as much as I can of it into the dam as I can, even though the dam itself is probably overflowing by this point in time. There we go, 34 centimetres. So I've taken 24 centimetres out at 80 litres to the centimetre, which is 2 tonnes removed. So we back that off, let the engine cool down just a little bit. Switch off the fuel and the ignition, and at the moment it'll be siphoning, so we switch that off, switch that one off, and then take this other siphon hose, cover the rig up with the bathtub that we used to have at the house at the coast. 76.4 millimetres all told, yesterday up to now. So we have one siphon, we have 2 siphons, each one at about 25 litres a minute. Bugger the hat. It regularly gets caught on that top boom. But such is life. Bloke ought to feel lucky to have a hat. And we've actually had 3.5 millimetres in the, what, half an hour since I measured it. So we're getting to maybe 6 or 10 millimetres per hour, and it's getting heavier. Because apparently there's 80 to 150 millimetres coming from the west, northwest, and it's planning on linking up pretty much over my head here with all the stuff that's been pounding the coast for the past week. And this is why I'm really glad that I live up on top of the hill, not down near the creek where it's easy to get your water. Because I might have a bloody creek flowing around me hut. The hut might be built on a spring. But I'm extremely unlikely to ever be affected by a waterfall coming down the hill at me from above. Anyway, 10:15. Yesterday's high temperature was 15 and last night's low temperature was 14, and we're sitting on 14.5 at the moment. Anytime you get your top temperature and your bottom temperature pegged there within a degree for 24 hours, that's when you really get rained on hard, so I've discovered. And because I've now got a wet hat and a wet jacket, both of which need to be dried, pretty much my only recourse now is to light the pot belly, heat this place up, sit inside and listen to the rain on the roof. As my little chimney warms my little hut. There we go. That's more the effect I was hoping to show. Don't you hate rain on your granny glasses? There we go. Get this thing fired up. They don't call it the blast furnace for nothing. 19.9 degrees, 1005.2 millibars, 66% humidity. 72%, 19.5. And that's the temperature tracking. Because that is the barometer dropping being tracked. I am so very glad I do not live in a floodplain. Okay, fire's been going for about 15 minutes. Temperature's come up 3 degrees or so. My lovely little Peltier effect thermoelectric fan is doing its stuff. We've gone from 34 to 44 centimetres, so 800 litres is transferred from the one buoy wall to the t'other buoy wall in half an hour, which, as I said, started out at 50 litres a minute, and yep, we have had continuing more rain. I'll pull the plug and we will start to save some of it again. And when the buoy walls are full, I will put more into the dam via the petrol powered pump and the Aquarius pipeline. It just vented an air bubble. And an effect of this rain, which has been hammering the coast for 4 days, is that all the traffic from the Pacific Highway has been shunted up to the New England Highway because we hadn't had too much rain up here, so the road was open, so it had a huge traffic load. My daughter, the traffic Nazi, was working at Bolivia Hill last night, and she said they had vast numbers of all kinds of traffic, and the Bureau of Meteorology says from 9 a.m. 9:30, 9 a.m. yesterday, 9 a.m. this morning, 80 millimetres fell. 76 of it fell between, or 70 mil, between 9 o'clock last night and 9 o'clock this morning. So what we had was 70 or 80 millimetres of rain falling onto a road with trucks at 100 kilometres an hour, pretty much bumper to bumper all night. And the Dothar child says that the whole road is just opened up. It's big, deep potholes to the point where you can't drive at 100 k's on the highway. You got to slow down. And like I said, there's another 150 mils on its way. So, meanwhile, Wonky wants to be fed, so I'd better give him some bread, or her. So yeah, that's the situation, is the Pacific Highway has been submerged and washed away, and the New England Highway has been destroyed by putting heavy traffic over it at highway speeds during a deluge, and now there's more rain to come. Because apparently the wet weather that's been coming in from the ocean and hitting the east coast, sort of from north of Brisbane to south of Nowra, like the entire eastern seaboard, it's about to run into this intense rain depression trough that's coming across more or less from Darwin, headed to Coffs Harbour, straight over the top of my place. And they reckon today the two wet, rainy, cold, troughy airflows are going to meet each other in the middle and cause a lot of rain. Well, it's not too bad if you're right up on top of the watershed, and the watershed from here is about 1 kilometre over there. perhaps 1.5 kilometres. So whatever falls on here, yes, it'll fill up creeks and gullies and it'll wash away some causeways and maybe some minor bridges, and it'll stop us from moving for a day or two, but 12 hours after the rain stops on the very top of the hill, it's drained away. The problem is for everybody who lives further downhill in either direction, east or west, it's a matter of days to a week before it drains away from the eastern seaboard, and weeks to months before it drains away to the west of me. But yeah, wet, 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 wet. And all the places where the Chamber of Commerce had stacked the local council with real estate agents and land developers and building contractors and property investors, and they've been rubber stamping every development application that ever crossed their desks, all with the idea of turning failed farmland, which went out of production because the rainfall dropped after the trees on the eastern seaboard were all cut down. And when you cut the trees down on the coastal plain, you shut off the rainfall pump. So clouds from the ocean come in and only rain once. They don't get evapotranspired up and down and up and down and up and down again and again for days and pushed inland every day. So the rainfall dropped on the coastal plain because of deforestation. All the places where they cut the trees down, set up a dairy farm, got 50 years production out of it, then the rain stabilised at 40% of what it used to be after 60 years from the forest disappearing. That all became unprofitable to farm, and it got cut up and sold to tree changers, hobby farmers, sea changers, sold off as housing estates, shopping centres, car parks. And instead of building your old-fashioned Australian Queenslander type house, which is a simple, cheap weatherboard house with a tin roof up on stilts, A, to catch the breeze in the stinking hot weather, and B, so that when the river floods, and they'd always be on the river floodplain because that's where the rich fertile soil is that you can make a lot of money out of, because anything will grow in fertile floodplains. When the flood comes, unless it's absolutely stupid place to live or a really, really, really once in a 200 or 300 year flood, the flood will go under the house because you're up on stilts. No. 50 years ago, the fashion became to put a pile of blue metal and gravel on the ground, lay a concrete slab on top of that, and then build a house that's lucky if it's half a metre above ground level. It's a silly idea, isn't it? And therefore, when you get a really serious rainfall event, a lot of places that used to be cow pastures now are flooded housing estates. So all the tourist traps on the east coast have just been washed away. Their road network's been destroyed. And to take the pressure off their road network, they put their traffic over the road network up here, and now our road network has become a pothole. And that's the news that we've got here at the moment. But so far, the swamp wallabies are happy. I'll see if I can capture the imagery that my daughter sent me across the mobile phone network thus far this morning.
God, I just have to pull over because look how deep the water is. A deep water, mate.
Try that
God,
again.
I just have to pull over because look how deep the water is. A deep water, mate.
Straight over the top of the bridge. She got through that. And this, whoopsie. This is the Glen Innes to Red Range Road. So the creeks are just starting to come up at about 9 o'clock this morning. The video from Deepwater was 7 o'clock in the morning. And this is the Glen Innes Park Creek, which has only just begun to reach the top of its banks. Again, 9:30 in the morning, so an hour ago. My suspicion is that that will now be on the grass, working its way up to East and West Avenue, which is about as high as the Glennin's Park Creek ever gets. Rocky Ponds Creek, they call that. So, while it may not be too good up here in a drought or a bushfire season, when you've got a flood, living on top of a hill is actually quite pleasant compared to all the other options, as far as I can make out. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. And the rain goes on. Ciao.